Hey guys, welcome back. We got Tuesday, Monday. Yesterday was a pretty tossed together video. It was a quickie, if you will, and apparently people enjoyed it. So we're going to do another one today because you guys know damn well I am bogged down with the legal paperwork at the moment. I feel like I have 8 jobs. The thread that we're going to read through here, it's a good one. It's by Dill, who has a nice little topic here, tough pills to swallow in Pokemon. I feel like we covered something similar to this, like something that like Pokemon collectors don't want to hear, that sort of situation. It's there. It's good though. It's extremely good. Please do let me know down below if you have any of your own. If you'd like to contribute to the thread itself, it's on E4. If you go to eliteforum.com, you can probably sign up there. You can probably toss your own on there as well. Now, if you don't have that sort of creativity or you can't think of anything that was already added, feel free to let me know down below which ones really rustled your jimmies. Because I always like to hear like which one is like is setting someone off. Which one is like, yeah, that one got me. It got me, guys. I want to hear that. So let me know that regardless. Now, here we have it. Dill says, what are some tough pills to swallow in Pokemon? Here are some that come to mind. Modern is everywhere. Holding a case of Hidden Fates or Evolving Skies in your closet isn't unique or big-brained. Now, I think that might set off a couple YouTubers that that tell you to buy modern product, and then show graphs of it going up in price. Whoop-de-doo. I don't know why you have to have a channel that tells you that that's a good idea or that it's a thing that you can do. And why? I mean, I guess they're gonna. You got to cherry pick some like good examples and say like, hey, look, here's why I'm a stonk dogger and you can be too. It shouldn't really be news to anyone that there's sealed product. If you hold it for long enough, it goes up in value. Whether or not that's the best decision and the best way to make money is a whole different story. Because sometimes when things aren't crazy daisy like they were in the pandemic, it takes quite a while for these products to actually go up in value. But yeah, I don't know. I can't imagine ever creating a channel solely based on modern investing. I think I would blow my brains out in Minecraft. For 90% of us, our collection is not unique. It was replicated by someone else. So I guess in terms of like goals, you probably have goals that are very similar to other people. But in terms of like collection, I don't know. I feel like if your collection is large enough, like there's no way it's going to be, surely it'll be similar, but I don't know if it'll be necessarily replicated in any way. There's certain people that do like Pikachu collection and whatever, but chances are they got different cards in there, especially if they're collecting multiple of their favorite Pokemon or their favorite artworks or whatever. Probably gets a little bit hard to replicate. If you buy BGS black labels, you're paying for the label and not the card. I would argue that it's maybe the same thing from any grading company with those higher grades. It can be a PSA 10. It can be a CGC Wiener Baby Golden Boy. It doesn't matter really what it is, or the perfect, or the 10s, or the 9, or whatever it is. You got to look at the card regardless. And a lot of people don't. They just want the 10 on the label. They want whatever it is on the label more than they want the actual condition of the card. I found a ton of cards that are misgraded because it's going to happen. Again, we get the grading companies. They're not spending very much time. And no, my apologies, but I would not consider anyone that is grading cards at close to minimum wage. No offense to minimum wage people. And hopefully they move on to something bigger and better. And I'm sure they can. I'm sure they have the ability to do so if they're competent enough to be working there. It's not going to be reliable. It just isn't. If it got to the point that it was reliable, it would be extremely expensive to grade. It would be extremely expensive to obtain employees that were competent enough to put something out that is what I would consider expert. Regardless of the grading company, it doesn't matter. Set cards will always be obtainable. That's pretty true. I mean, regardless of how rare a card is, how many boxes you need to open, how many packs you need to open, how old it is, how dead the Pokemon trading card game was in that particular era, it doesn't matter. Set cards they're always obtainable. Now, less obtainable, sure, but obtainable nonetheless. That's pretty standard. I mean, when you start getting into weird stuff like stamp stuff, champion stuff, trophy stuff, a lot of that is obtainable. But like the more niche and more, I guess, limited it is, the more rare it is, even that stuff is usually very obtainable, just much more difficult. Grading is subjective. It sure is. It's also overrated. And I guess people put too much faith in it. You gotta learn the stuff yourself. There's no shortcut. There's no easy peasy way to just blindly trust a grading company, blindly trust a seller, blindly trust anyone. You need to know this stuff yourself. My apologies that's going to take work and time, but if you enjoy Pokemon cards, it shouldn't be that much work. It should be pretty fun. It should be something that just naturally comes as you spend more and more time looking at Pokemon cardboard. PFM is ChatGPT. The Scott you meet at in-person events is a sentient robot, forever enslaved by SM Pratt. I didn't notice this, but it could have been that just Pratt wasn't there at the event, so maybe he was controlling him through an internet connection or something like that, or had poor reception. What do we got here? We got the embed, I guess. Pokemon will never again produce a card that feels like a vintage card. I guess it kind of depends what you mean by this, but I mean, it's not. You can't really. I think the vintage sort of. It's not going to feel like vintage if it's produced now anyway. I don't think it ever would. But I mean, everything's going to be vintage eventually. So, I mean, if Pokemon goes like another 100 years, then my apologies. But your Scarlet Violet stuff is at that point. I think there's a pretty good argument that it's vintage. I'm not saying Pokemon will go 100 years. It might not. It wouldn't surprise me, but I'm not going to be around for it, and neither is anyone that's watching this at the time of its release. Seaside Pokemon says, most of us won't catch them all. That is true. I guess both in the game and in the trading cards. I mean, the trading cards, to have one of every Pokemon card is essentially impossible. When you have stuff like the one-ofs and the really niche things, like it's just not possible, especially when you consider all the different languages. Impossible for any individual to catch all of those. Not to mention, like, you got like the Katy Perry, like there's probably more copies of the Katy Perry card, but there's supposed to be only one. So unless you somehow pry it from Katy Perry's hands, probably not. And then maybe it doesn't even exist anymore. Maybe she tossed it. Maybe it got thrown out. Who knows? There's probably some cards that just don't exist anymore. Consider all the languages and all the weird stamps and all that stuff. It wouldn't surprise me. PFM has 5 of them here for us. Says rarity doesn't guarantee value. Factors like condition, demand, and significance affect card values, not just rarity. I see this quite a bit. People like focus in on one aspect. And I mean, rarity can kind of be a crutch, or not a crutch, or it can be kind of like a downfall of something at certain points, because if people just don't know about it, there's not much competition for it, or there's not really much demand for it. Because as we've seen, people like they want the thing that everyone else wants. It's like human nature. My God, we see it over and over again with everything that gets popular, everything that spikes in price. Everyone is just chasing that same carrot. Wild. It's wild to see over and over again. Once you learn to avoid that, to just sit back and watch the collectors chase the carrot, and you just sit back and you wait for that carrot to come to you. It's a nice thing. It's less stressful. I know a lot of people stress themselves over like, oh shit, I'm never gonna get this card that just came out and is printed in just ridiculous quantities. You just gotta wait till people kind of turn the other way or find the next thing to chase. High grade isn't easy. Even cards fresh from packs may not achieve perfect 10s due to minute imperfections. True. Or something could be with minute imperfections can be submit 25 times before, until it gets the grade that it needs. Misprints don't ensure windfalls. Only significant misprints or factory errors are more likely to attract higher offers. I mean, stuff that's like minor is probably going to get some like minor if you find the right person. That's the thing too. That's key. If you find the right person, even the smallest of ink dots that no one, in my opinion, should care about, they might want it. Or those like pinch layers and stuff, or like stuff that is so close to or basically is like factory damage, but people still want it. Like crimped stuff. Like I don't get it, but to each their own. There are people that like that stuff, so even when it's not very, I mean, I guess that's the thing here. It clearly, if it's a crazy error, crazy misprint, it's a Moonbryon with like 2 Moonbryons printed on it or something, or it's a Moonbryon with a Treequaza texture or something like that. Okay, maybe we're getting into like crazy territory where you can get some wild stuff going on, but yeah, I don't understand the lower end of that stuff, or the like slightly off center kind of things. You're like, now when something's showing like a couple cards, I kind of get that. It's not for me, but I kind of get it. Pokemon market volatility. Card values can fluctuate unpredictably, making investing risky and emphasizing the importance of collecting for enjoyment. I think this is true. I mean, you can definitely minimize risk. There's a lot of things that you can't predict. So by avoiding those or minimizing like how much you're putting into something like that is definitely key. Something that's modern, something like a Van Gogh Pikachu, like putting a ton of money into a Van Gogh Pikachu as an investment is you're asking for a bad time. Modern stuff, modern sets, modern anything it's make sure you're collecting that because you enjoy it. I mean, if you buy a box of a set and it's around MSRP or less, maybe you get a pretty decent deal. You go to like a PSA Pikachu or something, you get a good price on it. You sit on it. If it gets reprinted, sucks. It's going to take even longer to go up in value, but it's going to. Now, something like a promo that can be reprinted, a promo that everyone's chasing at the time, the odds of that coming down in price, the odds of that getting reprinted, it's not good. Same thing with like Evolving Skies. People that were buying, I mean, it looks like a great decision right now, but buying Evolving Skies for double, triple, quadruple MSRP was extremely dangerous. It was. The possibility of reprints, very, very there. I mean, less likely now, but again, don't put it past the Pokemon Company. You never know what they're gonna do. You cannot predict what they're gonna do. Look at the futsal. Oh man, the futsal Pikachu. My God, that thing was like $2,000, and then it dropped to like $10 because instead of giving it out to the participants of the futsal league that they were supposed to go to, they all of a sudden changed their mind and decided, hey, let's dump these out. They're going to be available at game stores and everyone can get them. Putting $2,000 and turning it into $10, not a good time. That's some scary stuff, and that's why you got to be careful with a lot of this stuff. You need to know. You need to be able to see like something like that coming. Now, if you bought one of them because you needed it for you're a Pikachu collector and you needed one and you bought it and it was $2,000 and it turned to $10, that sucks. But if you bought a shitload, you bought 100 of them, my God, did you absolutely get dumped on. Storage and maintenance matter. Proper care preserves condition and value. Invest in productive sleeves, top loaders, or binders to keep your collection safe. Now, where there is like more risk and stuff, sometimes that's where there's bigger rewards. But again, you gotta weigh that out. Is it worth it? Is it worth it to turn $2,000 into potentially $10? What's the upside on that? Who knows? Yes, storage and maintenance matter. So it says sleeves, top loaders, binders to keep your collection safe, but also make sure climate control. Climate control is a big thing that people overlook. Make sure you're not in some damp ass basement or garage that you're storing your cards in. Don't do it. If you need to, get a dehumidifier. No, don't get the little stupid jugs. Buy like a proper, it's probably only a couple $100. And yes, if you have thousands and thousands of dollars worth of Pokemon cards, the couple $100 shouldn't matter. But again, sometimes people overlook the cost of like stuff to protect your collection versus the cost of the cardboard itself. Like it's crazy. It's crazy to me. But yeah, make sure don't leave your cards out in direct sunlight. They will bleach. Even if they're in graded slabs, it does not protect them from UV. Even the like UV protective glass is only like to a certain degree. You still don't want it in direct sunlight. Your sun porch collection is, and it's not going to be looking all that hot later on. Ronso Man says gloves are stupid and you look like a tool wearing them to handle cards. 100% agree on this. I think we touched on this several times at this point, but even according to people that handle like old scripts and books and literature of any kind, they're not wearing gloves. They just wash their hands really well before they handle any of the stuff to make sure that the oil on their hand is not there. Also, there's just like an added risk of it's hard to handle cards with gloves on. Maybe you're more likely to damage them. I think it's more along the lines of you don't need to wear gloves. You don't need to. You probably shouldn't. And then depending on the type of gloves, you might actually be leaving something behind on the card itself. Just wash your hands. Wash your hands really well before you handle your cards. That's it. That's all you need to do. And I 100% agree that gloves are not necessary in the least. All right. In terms of the misprints, we have Dill saying this is a big one. I can't count the number of times I've seen error or misprint on eBay listings in the hundreds or thousands of dollars, only to find that one, it was not an error at all, or two, it was an error, but something so minuscule that it would never attract a premium. So the never attract a premium thing is definitely subjective, but I mean, yes, if someone that has like it's a common card from Battle Styles and it's got one little red dot on the back of it, but you need to look at it under magnification in order to see it. Like clearly that isn't going to demand a premium, but you never know. There's certain stuff people like that you wouldn't think was a thing, but never underestimate the error collectors. They're real, and they like some stuff that you might not. Mr. Bubbles saying EU is a pretty harsh zone to be in and participate in this hobby, be it terms of getting products, grading cards, lack of exclusive promos. Cannot participate in Illustrator contests, no card signing events, etc. I guess except for Japan and North America's. Every other zone seems harsh. I wouldn't say this. I mean, Europe is getting a ton of exclusive stuff at the moment. They're getting some like weird variants, like the line hollows, the Cosmos hollows that are in like the weird blister packs. They're getting, I mean, they're getting more now. I would agree that they don't get as much as like the U.S. or North America, but there's so many variants in Scarlet and Violet that. Now, the Illustrator contest, I don't know why they don't make that like a worldwide thing. Maybe there's legal reasons or something for it. Not sure, but you would think that they would want to open it up globally. Who knows? I mean, there's also EU, and then there's like Netherlands and Australia, who are getting like EB Games promos that Canada used to get, but then also the ones in Canada used to have like a little maple leaf, but the ones elsewhere didn't. Like the variants are insane. And some of them are shockingly expensive because people that are trying to do master sets, they need them. So there's a lot of that stuff there. Maybe it's not as exciting of a promo. But I mean, we like the UK got the futsal thing. And yes, it's probably difficult as well to have like a variety of like different promos within Europe. But I'm not sure. I wouldn't be surprised if you see more special kind of things going on in the future. I mean, clearly there's an extent that the Pokemon company can like milk it to death, but exclusive promos have been a great way for them to sell product. People love them. Like you attach a promo to something on the Pokemon Center, I'm sure that their sales must just absolutely skyrocket. I'm sure we've seen a ton of that with the we had another example from earlier with the Charizard, the special delivery Charizard that was not released for the longest time. We're like, where the hell is it? What's going on here? It's been featured in the ETB pamphlet. Where the hell is the Charizard? And eventually it just showed up, and it did. No one cared about it anymore, and now it's I think it's creeping up in price at this point. No one's looking at it. You don't really want things to like skyrocket. It's probably coming back down if it does. And I mean, if you're trying to collect, or you're trying to hold on to anything to hope that it increases in value later on, you want a nice healthy climb. You want it to just gradually increase in price, be something that people are looking for, and becomes more and more scarce over time. I think that's that's the best case scenario. Other than if you're just flip dipping, and you're hoping that your box of cards 5x's, which is much harder for a box to do so in this day and age. All right, what do we got? Eevee team. This is normal for a set card, tough pill to swallow for a cameo Eevee as a cake. Yeah, we got the Cardster _ Tokyo selling this bad boy for $2,979.99. Holy sweet baby! I hope the shipping is free. Yeah, do not envy the Japanese collectors and this modern Japanese stuff. People are gobbling that up. Is it always going to be that way? I mean, it's always going to be. I think these like counterparts are always going to be more expensive than the English ones. There's just less of them. There's way more Japanese collectors at the moment. If some of this drops off, if Japan starts printing a lot more Japanese, and then people stop collecting the newer stuff, does that mean? I mean, you would think that there'd be like a lot of the people that were collecting Japanese that started collecting Japanese because I guess they would have already come back to English if that's what they were going to do. I don't know. It's crazy to me that Japan doesn't find a way to crank up the printers, at least to some extent. Like, clearly ridiculous here. Certain stuff is going to be more or less expensive just based on how it's released, how hard it is to pull. Like, we got IRs in English that are more expensive than the Japanese counterpart, like the Magikarp, because it was way harder to pull, just because there were so many more in that product versus the split up product that contained a better chance at getting any particular IR in Japanese. Careless Whiskers says once it's scratched, it can't go back. That's true. You're missing out. Well, unless you're one of the card altering pussy wussies, then yeah, they would argue that it can go back and that it is not altering. But I can assure you, when you're adding or removing material from a card in order to either hide or mostly hide or fill the scratch, you are altering. You are a bad boy. Cut it out. You're missing out on great deals as we speak, simply because it's too much to keep track of. That is entirely true. And I mean, I think a big part of learning or finding your way through and not stressing out and not dealing with a lot of BS in Pokemon, whether you're purchasing or buying, is to track how much time and how much effort you're spending on finding a deal. Because I mean, even if the deal is better, I don't want to go on Facebook. I don't want to deal with somebody that's like, oh, send me offers in DMs only and back and forth, and then they sell it to someone else, or they don't send it, and you got to get your money back, and you got to make sure that you're paying with friends and family, or you're paying with goods and services, not friends and family, because if they rip you off, and maybe they're going to be like, no, I only want friends and family. I only want Cash App and Venmo, and then you don't have the option of buying it whatsoever. It's a lot of like potential time waste when there are ways to find deals without having all that extra headache attached to it, not dealing with the G-ballers, the Facebook G-ballers, not razzle-dazzling, not just all of that stuff. Just it doesn't need to exist, and you're doing yourself a disservice by kind of participating in any of it, in my opinion. You can still find awesome deals on auctions, potentially better deals, because even if they're taking the fees off of there, or splitting the discount on the fees, it's not going to be anywhere close to just like an awesome auction deal, auction pickup, which again, you don't need to watch the auction the entire 7 days or 24 hours that it's up. You can just slap your bid on there. You can use a Gixxin until it puts it on at the end. If you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Very little time wasted, and potentially an awesome deal. All right, the amount of sealed vintage product decreases every single year. It does. This is a weird one because it does decrease, but also you got to keep in mind that there are more, and I mean, there's always going to be more vintage to a certain degree that is surfacing. So it might not seem like it's kind of going down, but yes, the total vintage product is decreasing. Whether it's in a house fire, whether it's opened in a break by GBaller69 on whatnot, any of that stuff, it's always going to decrease. There's not, well, other than if you're including people repacking and resealing this kind of stuff, then I guess maybe it could increase. It could fake increase. All right, what we got here? We got Pratt saying, man, this is super good. We have Moss Deep saying the bot needs less knowledge and colder takes to truly become human. We got Stagecoach here with counterpill. People into premium grades like this know this, and this is why they want. Yeah, I don't know. The black label stuff is insane, especially when you see a black label that's like clearly has imperfections and like shouldn't be obtainable, but it's just like it's a lottery ticket at that point in time. You hear a lot of people that are submitting to BGS. They're like, "Oh, but if I get a black label, yeah." It's basically, you're playing the lottery because maybe you get it, maybe you don't get it, unless you're affiliated with the BGS and you go in yourself on a weekend or something and grade your own cards. It seems like black labels are still very difficult to obtain, although they have been popping up more in recent times. Maybe BGS kind of trying to provide an incentive to go with them over the other grading companies. Josh says, chicks aren't turned on by our collections. There's probably a couple out there that would be. I don't know if would they be turned on or impressed? I don't know. I'm not really sure. I also don't feel like, So, the sports car thing, like, surely there are girls out there that are like, oh yeah, maybe you don't want that. You don't want a girl that's going to be turned on by your collection. First of all, they're Pokemon and anime characters. Second of all, is she just using you for your Pokemon cards? Careless Whiskers, what do you mean? Whenever I tell mine about my cool new purchase, she says cool and can't contain her excitement, so she goes back to doing whatever she was doing. Charizard 1020 says, no, I will not grow out of Pokemon. It's not just a phase. When I have my midlife crisis, my purchase will probably be a Pokemon card, not a car or something else people do. This top pill is for my family/friends who ask why I'm 30 and collect all things Pokemon. I'm surprised. I feel like there's a whole lot less of this, like Pokemon shaming, collecting shaming on like nerdy childhood stuff. Especially where like everything was expensive and everyone's like, oh my god, I can't believe how expensive. Oh, how do you have the expensive ones? Do you? There was a lot of that going on during the pandemic. A lot of new people in, a lot of people out. Again, like most people that get into Pokemon cards, or probably a lot of other similar hobbies, are usually in and out within a year. They get there, they scratch that itch, the nostalgia itch, and then they move on. If you made it past a year, you're doing good, and you're on the track, because that's typically how you're going to do well in a hobby like this. Is just in the long run. Make smart decisions, learn about it, enjoy it, pace yourself. Don't burn yourself out after a year. Dump your collection or whatever it is. Chances are, unless you had timed it just perfectly, you didn't do very well. If financially that's what you were aiming for. Lyle Burr says there can only be one best there ever was, and guess what? It's not you. That is extremely true. I don't know who's competing for the best in terms of Pokemon collecting, but I think there's arguments to be made that we'll have like a showdown, best collection. Kamen says the fact that almost all of us dream of a timeline where we were sent back to 1999 with all the knowledge we have now to experience all the magic again, but the reality is that we only progress further and further away from it into a dark void of death. Flips hair and turns up emo music. That is dark. That is Charizard 1020. You hit that on the head. All right. Typhlosion Collector saying grading is like dating. 8s and 9s are perfectly fine. Most 10s still have flaws, are overvalued, and usually not worth getting. That is some wise words. Lamp says, as I get older, I find myself less interested / able to spend money on this hobby. I find myself reevaluating large purchases and instead investing that money in things for my kids in the future, i.e. college funds / investment funds for them, etc. One day I will sell all my cards and use that money on my kids and their future. Yeah, I think that's pretty noble cause. I mean, depending on if they get into Pokemon and you teach them, hey, like look after this stuff, and that can be a thing too. It doesn't necessarily need to be the most expensive stuff. It doesn't need to be college tuition levels worth of cards that you're purchasing, but it is. I think it'd be pretty cool, right? I mean, if they're not into it, then definitely you can sell that off. If they're not into to the point that they're gonna know what it's worth or anything like that, you could sell it off and put it towards something that they do enjoy. Probably something that like I would say something that is going to benefit or retain value more than like don't go spend it on like candy or something. Strippers. Rattlesnake says that they all have flaws. That's why I chase fives. Someone's got to chase the fives. The fives need love too. PSA fives, BGS fives, CGC fives, MNT fives. No, regardless of whatever those fives are, there are fives of all kind. Typhlosion Collector, they all look good at the right angle. I mean, if you put enough sleeves on top of them. 20 plus likes for PFM. None of my close friends collect Pokemon cards, and it sucks. So I don't think this is necessarily a problem. I mean, you don't need to share every interest with your friends. You can also make friends that do this. And if you ever want to, I mean, you're on a forum with a bunch of people. You can probably make some friends on there. I know E4 has a Discord. I know I have a Discord. If you want to make Pokemon friends, there are lots of them out there. They might have to be that they might not be your close friends. My apologies if they don't make the cut, but there are lots of other people there that out there that would like to be friends with other Pokemon collectors. Now, you might not see each other until maybe an event that you both go to. It might be something like that. You might only get to look at each other on a Discord webcam, but you know what? Sometimes it's good to have those relationships as well. The angle where your eyes are closed. What in the hell? I'm not sure what this even means. Inert says, hopefully not. One of the most boring eras of the franchise. I think maybe there's a missing... Did something get deleted there? See, Darwin 7. People buying things you don't like at prices you find unreasonable doesn't automatically make it a bubble. This is true, but I mean... You gotta be careful. Stuff that's spiking, stuff that's hyped. Hype Dog 69. I mean, there's calling everything a bubble, saying that the Pokemon is dead. We've seen those thumbnails pop up on YouTube. Oh no, is Pokemon dead? Metazoo's dead? Is Pokemon doomed too? Oh no. No, Pokemon's fine. It's in a normal spot. For anyone that was here before the boom, yeah, it might feel pretty familiar because modern product is not supposed to triple dipple, mix nipple overnight, in a month, whatever it is. It's healthy. It should be widely available for the period that it's active in the TCG, for the period that it's recent sets. You should have, I don't know how many sets would be like a healthy amount, maybe like the last 5 sets at least. Being available at any given time seems pretty healthy to me. The competition at the moment where people are just trying to undercut each other and like taking a loss on product because they want to keep their distribution numbers up, that's not healthy. That's going to have to fix itself in some way. That's not good for anyone involved. I guess maybe the Pokemon, maybe collectors benefit from that. Just cheap product or people that want to enjoy the product, not necessarily people that want to stonk dog it. Shin Porygon says, E-Series, I'm good. Something like base set, nah, those stock images are boring. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, everything has its place. Everything was like a history of the game, a history of the sets that came out. And I think it's all important. I don't think any of it is necessarily boring. I mean, in comparison, yes. If you're gonna compare your base set artworks and you're gonna put it up against your alt arts of all alt arts in this day and age, your SIRs, whatever, clearly it's in a whole different league. But at the same time, you got to remember that's where it all started. That's what it was at the time. It's still artwork, but yes, there was less involved. There was less that went into it, and there was less craziness that was going on in terms of the size of the art and everything else. I mean, I guarantee you make like it's just a base set Charizard that's the entire card. People would probably blow their absolute load. Now the size of the Pokemon, the size of the artwork itself, oftentimes is just like what determines whether or not people appreciate it or not. We've seen it with some of the alt arts that the artist has a very similar art. It's just in a little box instead of the entire surface of the card. Inert says E-Series doesn't feel vintage to me. In my mind, something feels vintage. If something feels vintage, that just means it looks outdated. I really stepped into the place it is now during E-Series when so many new artists were brought into main sets. Afterwards, it has just been expanding to more and more impressive levels. Yeah, there are some nice arts, even going back to a base set, even if they're few and far between. But the true diversity didn't really take off until E-Series, in my opinion, internationally at least. I mean, there's examples. There's like Ken Sugimori, like stock arts that have been used like throughout pretty much the existence. I don't know. I don't even know if at what point they would have stopped, but there's a ton of it. There's like there's a ton of it. It extended long beyond E-Series and EX and up into your like diamond and pearls, and I think all the way up through black and white. I don't know how much of it was in like XY and newer, but it existed, and it was like the background was just, I don't know if it was chosen by Sugimori or someone else, but it was that's what it was. It was kind of a placeholder. We're pretty spoiled this day and age with the diversity and the artwork, and the artists themselves, the many different artists, the new artists, the old artists. It's kind of all over the place, but it's awesome. And that's the thing. I mean, it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for those earlier sets. Oh wait, what do we got here? Eevee Man says modern Japanese is quickly becoming a money pit for no real reason. Modern English is printed into oblivion, and such is finally starting to become affordable. Market manipulation is 1000% real. No, I do not agree. I mean, the modern Japanese stuff is a lot of people putting money into it, a lot of people collecting it now, and they're just not being very much of it. Now, whether or not that's going to remain that way is to be determined. The whole printed into oblivion thing has been said. It's been said for every single era that has ever existed. People will say that, and bad news for you. Even if there is a jillion million Sword and Shield boxes printed to every one base set box, the sheer rarity of some of these cards that are coming out of this stuff, the sheer difficulty there is in obtaining a set, the amount of chase cards is just ridiculous. The amount of product that you need to open is also multiplied by many times in order to complete a set, to the point that a lot of these sets are impossible to open, short of just like spending just so much money, and at that point you're opening full cases and not getting those final cards that you need. Like it's ridiculous. So with the amount that's printed, there's also a ton of extra chase within all of this stuff that needs to be taken into consideration. Does that mean the commons and uncommons are going to be very abundant? Yes. I mean, there's still a lot more of those in these sets than there were in previous sets, but the printed to oblivion and it's never going to go up. Your Sword and Shield box is never going to go up. Your Scarlet Violet box is never going to go up. It's never going to become rare. It's never going to be. It's going to. People are going to gradually open it as it goes up in price. Your breakers and people that just want to open something and spend extra money on it, even though it's not a good financial decision, are going to do so. I mean, it's a good financial decision for the people breaking, not so much for the people that are paying for the pack that's being opened. But it's happened. It's happened time and time again, and people just want to ignore the fact. Every era has had the printed into oblivion. Almost every set has been the printed into oblivion tagline that has been used, and it proves it wrong every time. And even if it is printed into oblivion, it doesn't matter. If I don't know what oblivion would be relevant at that point in time, because it works itself out. Market manipulation is 1000% real. There is market manipulation, but I think people like overreach on that and using it as an excuse for like they're like, oh, it's about market manipulation. Everything is. A lot of this is like genuine interest that results in something that looks like market manipulation. Your promos and stuff like that. Is there some aspect of manipulation? Sure, but is it also that just everyone wants to jump in on something at the same time? Also, yes. You're pretty sick, Chubbs. Inert says the reason is simple. Charizard says, I think anything WotC is vintage. EX is starting to get there now, but not there yet, in my opinion. Who was it? Someone said the other day, maybe it was a couple weeks ago, that they're like, XY is vintage, right? I'm like, no. I don't know how much of that is like, I mean, it's kind of subjective, but also like, I'm like, fuck, if XY is when I got back in. Like around XY base. So like if XY is vintage, oh my god, I am an old man. Nerd saying I agree that it is a vintage. I'm just saying E-Series doesn't feel vintage. Yeah, I would say that maybe everything like EX and older is probably vintage. I don't know where you want to like break that off. Do you cut like half of everything as vintage era and newer era? Do we need different sections? I mean, it's already kind of segmented into your like your WotC, your like Nintendo, your EX. It's already pretty segmented so that you don't really need to necessarily make it give it a vintage qualifier or not, which is subjective rather than, hey, it was EX era. Just refer to it as EX era. And does the vintage part really matter? I mean, I guess if you're trying to sell somebody on it that doesn't understand when it came out, trying to upsell it, trying to make it sound snazzy. C. Darwin 7 says Japanese is a quality product that has a limited means to meet increasing demand. English is more heavily mass printed to meet demand. I mean, I don't know how much that is like actually restrictions. I mean, clearly there's like the intention that the Japanese product is not sold outside of Japan because it says it on the product itself. But I mean, I don't know. I'm under the impression that the Japanese product, if they had the ability to print more, that they would be. Now it's never going to be at the same level as the English stuff because there's just more people that want to open the English stuff. There's more people that want to collect the English stuff. Even though Japanese is where it originated, you're still going to have the majority of the world collecting the English stuff. Outside of like, yes, they're going to be, you have to be pretty into Pokemon before you really get into the Japanese and the obscure Japanese stuff. There's like an entry, the barrier to entry within that, and then you gotta be pretty hardcore to want the cards that you can't read versus the ones that you can. Not that should deter anyone from collecting whatever they want to collect, but that's kind of what it is. I mean, there's also people want the less expensive options. At one point in time, the Japanese cards were the less expensive options for most things, and at least in terms of like the set cards. So, given these factors, not really surprised Japanese is seeing price increases. I suppose people are finally realizing that being able to read a card doesn't matter as much for collecting purposes. I mean, if that was the case, people would just be buying the Chinese cards. They'd be buying the Thai cards and everything else exclusively. You don't really see that. I mean, if the card isn't of great quality. So this is the thing too. The Japanese print quality, while it is on average better than the English stuff, you can't tell me that it's flawless. People like to like live in this like pipe dream that like, oh, the Japanese print quality, never an issue with it. There can be. I mean, open a box on 151 and show me your Pokeball reverses. Show me the print lines on those. There's been a ton of like texture shifts and stuff like that in recent times. They do make mistakes. There is some amount of, bad product that's going to be pushed out, especially if they're printing to max capacity. It's just going to happen. Now, at the same time, you have people that are upset when the print quality is too good, because they'll be like, damn it, the 10s are too easy to get. Modern sucks. Modern's dead. Printed to oblivion. The people, no matter what, will find something to complain about or justify what they're collecting over somebody else's idea of what is best. So, yes, has there been a lot of oopsie doopsies? What the hell is going on here? Maybe he's also referring to like the difference in the textures, but again, then you can just go buy the Chinese stuff, and it'll be the Japanese print quality and texture, same textures, I believe. It'll even have a little Pokemon thing in the bottom to prevent counterfeiting in China. Whoop-de-doo. And save yourselves a bunch of money. But that's the thing. People don't really care about that. I think they more care, like, Japanese was at one point a budget version for a lot of this stuff, especially like when people were collecting vintage, and then turned into kind of a more expensive thing, especially on the modern end of things. So I mean, you don't see nearly as much like vintage Japanese or like mid. We're all like the Japanese EX era collectors. So it's a lot of people jumping on the modern stuff. Some of it, not everyone, but some of it is definitely people that are excited because it's more expensive. It's more exclusive. It's harder to get. It's harder to get at a good deal. When you pull that waifu, she's fucking expensive as hell. So then they'll be like, "Oh, I don't want to open Scarlet and Violet. It's printed to oblivion. It's so affordable." But I mean, everything should be affordable when it comes out. You shouldn't have to worry about getting booster boxes filled with juice boxes and rocks or anything like that on the Japanese end of things. It was like pandemic, and some of it is probably people kind of trying to latch on to or wanting their shit to like go up in price immediately or be more expensive or more exclusive. People want what they can't have. It's just it kind of lends to that to a certain degree as well. Again, don't let people tell you what to collect. Collect what you want to collect. Collect within your own means. Do what you got to do to enjoy the hobby. I mean, make smart decisions in the process, as many as you can. It doesn't always have to be a smart decision. You can every now and then open a couple cards. It's fun. Owning Japanese trophy cards does not make one superior to others in the hobby, and their perception as the apex is ultimately a societal construct once monetary value is removed from the equation. People will find value in different niches of the hobby, whether it be cheap or expensive cards, items with history behind them, or mass-produced products. Both are perfectly acceptable. This perception of high and low culture isn't exclusive to the Pokemon card hobby. It's prevalent in many visual media, film, animation, video games, or fine art circles. Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's the same thing that we just looked at here, where it's like, oh, you collect English, that's for scrubs because it's mass produced and the print quality sucks. Your off center card? Oh yeah? Well, my Pokeballs have lines, but I'm gonna ignore that. Like, I don't know. It's just people trying to justify their own collections. It's to let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. It doesn't matter. I mean, feel free to banter. It's always fun. You gotta tell Billy every now and then that Japanese print quality is not god tier to the extreme. And there's other card games that definitely have better print quality, better card quality, card stock quality. The white stuff is just ridiculous. So if Pokemon ever stepped itself up on the English or Japanese side to whatever they're doing there, and it could be that they just don't have to produce as much. They might, I don't even know if they're using like a whole different facility, but whatever they're doing, it is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it's just automatic. And then that would absolutely destroy people that are like, damn it, I want 10s that are hard to get. I want 10s that are expensive. You can't make everyone happy. And your collection shouldn't be an attempt to make anyone else happy other than yourself. Whether it's something that you're making decisions for financially or for your own pure enjoyment or anywhere in between. Charizard 1020, unpopular opinion, but if I had this kind of money, I would 100% wear both of these. Got to see the illustrator in person at the National. You mean the illustrator, the Logan Paul illustrator that was a 9 several times before it finally got a 10, and it only cost less than $10 per submission to do so. I forget what the actual number was. It was like $5, something like that, to resubmit this thing over and over again. Voila. I still haven't seen the back of it. Would love to see the back of it. Maybe it was in a case here, so you couldn't see the back of it. And then also these two cards they just represent the fakeness that is Logan Paul. Because this one here, again, this was a card that was submit by Gary to see if it would upgrade to a 10, and it wouldn't. But then all of a sudden, oopsie doopsie, Logan Paul brings it to BGS, and it upgrades. It's so fake. It's so stupid. I hate this shit. It is like it's the epitome of what's wrong with the upper end of Pokemon. Just the dishonesty and the favors and the fucking dick stroking that goes into it. It's gross. All right, what do we got here? Collector saying the bling around the case was a brilliant idea, and if I was a billionaire, I would do exactly the same. Swellpoke saying there will always be that one card you will never add to your collection, and you will have to learn to be okay with that. I mean, it probably depends on like what your goals are. I mean, I'm not telling anyone that you should set your goals super low, but for the most part, anytime I see people that are saying like, "Oh man, I really love this card. It's my favorite card, but I'll never have it," and it's like $400 or something. Okay, even if you don't have the $400 right now, I believe in you. You can do it. Work extra hard, save up for it, do what you got to do. You will get that $400 card. I can assure you. It is not out of your grasp. Even something that's like 10 grand, is it just a disgusting amount of money for almost everyone on one single Pokemon card? Yes. If that's your absolute goal and that's what you want and that's what you truly want to seek out after, regardless of how much money you're making, you can make it happen. It's a matter of focusing in and how much of an actual priority it is, more than it is being impossible. Is it a good financial decision when you don't have everything else going for you? Probably not. But obtainable. A lot of this stuff is obtainable. Now, when you're talking like something that's $1 million, maybe you die long before you save up that $1 million. I mean, maybe it drops. Maybe it drops in price. Charizard 1020. Maybe it's like an illustrator and they keep popping up. Charizard 1020 says, I think I can name like 10 right off the top of my head. Crying face. I mean, there's a lot of expensive cards. There are a ton of trophy cards, crazy stuff that is extremely expensive. Even your like first edition based Charizards and PSA 10s or whatever, expensive. Maybe you can get a good deal on the trimmed one. Inert Geometry saying supply and demand. More people want the cards than they did previously, and Japan still has the issue of usually only doing 1 or 2 print runs of most sets before never reprinting it. The restocks are immediately purchased up, and there is never a point where you can just buy it in stock somewhere unless you're local and wait in line throughout the night. So that's the thing. It's a lot of the product getting kind of funneled out of Japan, being sold elsewhere. All of these breakers, all of this other stuff. It does not help them in any way that the Japanese sets are coming out before the English ones. So then a lot of the English market is, even if they don't necessarily collect it or primarily collect it, they're going to be opening, they're going to be buying that stuff and pulling it out of Japan, where the collectors are there, and then the people that are there are going to be selling it because they see they can go wait in line, they can get a box and they can sell it online to somebody in the West. It's kind of all a cycle, and it could be just that they don't have the capacity to print any more than they actually are, because there's always a new set coming out. Like, you think there's a set that comes out often in English. Japan is split into separate sets, so there's like always something, always the next thing. So they don't really have time, I wouldn't think, to go back and reprint a lot of this stuff without the infrastructure in place. I'm not sure how it works in Japan in terms of if they have their own print equipment or if it's contracted out. Not totally sure. I should know that, but I don't know that. If anyone does know that, do let me know. I'd like to see any kind of documentation on that. So it could be limitations on their own part. It could be limitations if they're in terms of contracting it out, or if they want control over it, then they don't want to do that. But then also, like, you got to remember, Japan is like card game central. Like, there are so many card games. There's a ton of card games that are in Japan that aren't outside of Japan, and it's all being printed. So, limitations, definitely there. I mean, English had limitations. It seems like they're doing okay now with the current market conditions. But if something else happened where there was another boom of the same size, it wouldn't surprise me if it was hard to get product again. It's just, and then if it's only a temporary problem, are they really going to, are they going to invest in a whole new facility to print more of this stuff and then not need it when it comes back? The same with the grading companies that, like, They're gonna be hesitant on like, hey, is this gonna last forever? Do we expand to the point that like we're not gonna need it? We're gonna have to lay everyone off. We're gonna have an empty building. We're gonna like, are we gonna be able to pay for all this stuff, the equipment and overhead and everything else before it goes back to what it probably should have been all along? All right, what else we got here? We got Pikachu says, I might not be able to open a Scarlet Violet block Japanese booster box containing a waifu SAR. I may never pull a waifu SAR. What in the world? Yes, you can. I believe in you, Pikachu. There's a lot of the Scarlet Violet stuff that is affordable compared to what it has been. You might not be getting it right at MSRP, but I think there's quite a few sets that are very close. The last ones that I purchased. So if that's your goal, you can. That is achievable. You can do it. Shin Porygon says, I mean, I don't know if it's financially worth it. I mean, if it's like on your bucket list and you have to do it, or someone's holding the gun to your head and saying, hey, if you don't pull a waifu SAR from Scarlet Violet, I am going to pop you one. You can do it. I believe in you. Shin Porygon, supply really is the key issue here. I think as long as Japan continues to print to local demand, this problem will persist. Japan cards were not meant to go out of Japan anyway. True. Also, I mean, you gotta remember that Pokemon is designed in a way that there are inexpensive versions of all of these cards, just the same way the English has them. So in terms of players getting the cards that they need, players they don't need Iono with the cakes. They don't need Cake Master Iono. They can just play regular Iono. There are many versions. There's going to be non-holos. It could be different stuff within theme decks and everything else. In Japan, maybe not. They're like specialty sets, premium sets or whatever you want to call them. Special hyper premium dog supremes. They'll have like reprints of a lot of that playable stuff so that players can actually obtain all the cards that they need. Dill says, waifu collectors are here to stay. It's not a fad. It's a movement, a really uncomfortable and awkward movement. I mean, there's a certain... I really like when there are... I mean, it doesn't need to be a waifu, but the full art trainers or even like the trainer gallery, like really sick. Like seeing the characters from the games and the anime and whatever with their Pokemon, I think is a cool thing. So I can't really blame people that are collecting the waifus or collecting the full art trainers. Of any sort. It's pretty sick, pretty cool. Good way for them to integrate the characters from the franchise into the card game. We got Mono Genome, who says OG Vintage 9202 will always be the hard and most important cards in the hobby. Yeah, I mean, it's where it started, so... typically, you would think like even like your first edition base set is just like you can't really make something that's more iconic than that because it was the first. It was the thing that started it all. You can argue till you're blue in the face about how the artwork has only improved since then, and you would probably be right. But even the artists that provided art back then and are providing art now, there's a world of difference in what they're allowed to do, on what's included, on basically the resources. I mean, I'm sure at the beginning it wasn't just like hey, you can do anything you want to this card. It can be full art. You can go outside of the borders or anything like that. It was no, put the picture of the Pokemon on there, put the simple background, or some of them had backgrounds, some of them didn't have backgrounds. There you go. Voila. Or it's going to be foil in the background, so don't really bother putting too much detail on it because it's all going to get washed out anyway. Something I'm not sure what the conversation was, but I'm sure it wasn't, hey, can you make something that looks like it's like the Pokemon trading card game in 25 years? Probably not happening. Anyway, I think we're going to call it at there. If you'd like to check out the thread, you can definitely do so. We can give it a scroll through, but I think an hour is probably where we're going to cut this off. Thank you very much to anyone and everyone that made it through. If you want to participate on threads like this, make sure you're joining eliteforum.com. And yeah, you can hit up all the discussions. Extremely important resource. There's a ton of people on there that are extremely knowledgeable. And especially when you get into really niche stuff. There's no one that can learn everything in Pokemon cards. It is just impossible. There is so much niche information. So if you're getting into any of that niche stuff, chances are, if you reach out, you probably will find either a guide on what you're looking for, and or somebody that is kind of an expert who honed in on whatever specific. Holy crap, there's a lot of posts on here. All right, yeah, go check this out. Thanks for tuning in. See you guys next time. Thanks for joining the Discord. Bye.